there are, I mean, there are a couple of things that I want to potentially talk about here as potential problems for that response, which is that one is that if God is going to be explanatory there, it sort of implies that God could have given the world a different logic, and I think that's really cool. But that in turn raises tensions for classic theistic responses to things like, can God make a stone so heavy he can't lift it? Because the classic theistic response, which I think is perfect and brilliant, that's why I don't really think it's, can God make a stone so heavy he can't lift it? It's a problem, is just to say, well, a stone so heavy God can't lift it doesn't make any sense. It's a self-contradictory property. But of course, if God crafts the laws of logic and God grounds the laws of logic, then in order for that to be explanatory, it kind of seems like God could have made it differently. Because otherwise it's like, well, if God couldn't have made it differently, then in what sense is he grounding it in a way that, I don't know, Platonism wouldn't? Or just it just then becomes a bare fact about immaterial reality rather than material reality. So there's a potential tension there with other potential like theistic responses to alternative problems. And but yeah, yes, and the second is just to stress that it's probably a bit too extreme to say the atheist cannot explain the laws of logic. But it is probably fair to say that there are genuine difficulties in grounding the laws of logic metaphysically. A lot of the time, philosophers will turn to Platonism for mathematical and logical laws to give them their grounding there. So you say that the laws of logic exist in the immaterial plane and are instantiated in the material plane. So the law of non-contradiction is out there in the Platonic realm, and in this world, it is instantiated in the fact that nothing contradicts. There are no contradictory properties. And I think that's fine. I mean, it strikes me as at least as good an explanation as the theistic one. For the reason I gave before, is that it seems like the agency of God must be pretty limited in explaining this particular thing, because otherwise, theological reasoning, why God did one thing rather than another thing and stuff like that, becomes very, very difficult, because God isn't bound by the laws of logic.